Welcome. So far, we've been writing programs where we manually type in values like names and numbers. This is usually not the case in the real world. Real world programs often need to interact with users, asking questions and getting responses. Imagine a friendly robot that can ask you questions and remember your answers. That's what we learn to create using Python's input function. The Python's input function allows us to interact with the user and get information from users. Let's start with the simplest way to get an input from our user. So, for example, we want to get the name of our user, we can create a name variable, and then we are going to assign to that variable the value of the name that the user is going to provide. So we get that input from the user using the input function. So most of the time, PyCharm is going to write the parentheses for you. If it doesn't write it, ensure to write your parentheses. Inside of the parentheses, you are going to provide the string. And the string is going to serve as the prompt you are going to send to the user. This is the prompt the user is going to see. So now that we want to get the name of the user, we can say, what is your name? Okay, question mark. That will provide the space. All right. So if we run this code now, we are going to see a prompt of what is your name in the console. So here the user can type their name. So I can say my name is Toyosi. So I enter that and then the code is going to execute. Because there is nothing after the line of code, that's why the code finish execution after that. But after that, we can use the value provided by the user. So we can print a statement using nef string. Then we are going to say hello. We are going to greet our user using their name. Okay, so have curly braces and then we are going to have name. So by running this now, when Python is executing the code, at this point, it's going to ask for the user's name and then it's going to pause the execution of the code. The code will not continue to run unless this input is provided. So let me say my name is Toyosi. So if I press enter now, it's going to continue with the execution of the code. And at this line, we are printing hello with the name that I provided, which is Toyosi. Then we have hello Toyosi. So that is the end of the code because we do not have any more code to execute after that. By default, the input function always gives us strings as the output, even if the user types numbers. If you need the user provided data in another data type, you have to convert it to the desired data type. For example, let's say we want to get the age of our user. We can say age is equal to, then we have the input function. So we can say, let's say, how old are you? Okay. So we want to get the age of the user. So if we run this now, we're going to have how old are you? Even if the user types in a number, what will be returned by your input function is going to be a string. So to use the input as a number, you have to convert it to either integer or float. All right, so let's say after this now, we want to say next, let's say next year age is equal to age plus, we have plus 1. Okay, let's rerun this now. Stop and rerun. Okay. So say how old are you? If I say 20, then I said enter. So I'm going to run into error because what was returned by input is a string. So here I want to add a string to a number. That is why we run it to type error. You can only concatenate string, not an integer. So to perform this operation, I'm going to convert this age. I'm going to convert it to an integer using int function. Okay, if we run this again now, then it's going to ask for how old are you? Let's say 20. So, okay, let me print next year's age. Okay. So it's going to say how old are you? I said 20. So now 20 will be converted to integer here, and the 20 is going to become an integer. Added to 1, we are going to have 21. If I convert it to float, okay, so we are going to have 21.0 as a result. Okay, how old are you? Let me say 15 now. So we have 16.0 because at this point, I'm converting the string of 15 to float, which will become 15.0. So 15.0 plus 1, we have 16.0. Sometimes we may need to format our input prompt in order to make our input prompt clear and user-friendly? One of the way to do that is using multi-line prompt. For example, let's say we want to get the address of our user. Let's say we have address to be equal to, okay, so we have input, all right? So inside of that, we want to format our prompt so that it is more user-friendly. So we can use triple quote for that. So we can say, enter your address, okay? And after that, can go to the next line and say, press enter. I say, press enter when done. All right. So we put that in parentheses. Okay. So now we are formatting our input prompt. If I run this now, okay, so you see we have enter your address, press enter where you are done. So you can say, as my address, you can say this is my address. Okay, enter, and then the code is going to finish execution. Again, you may need to sometimes separate the user input from the output. You can do this using the new line keyword. For example, let's say we have an input of, let's say, Celsius. Okay, Celsius, you can say, you can pass an input prompt to the user. We can say, okay, you can say enter the temperature in Celsius. Okay, so now after this, after the input prompt, then we can print let's say temperature report. Let's say we want to form a temperature report from the input that the user is provided. We can say temperature report is, after that, have another print statement. Then we are going to have f string because we are forming a report from the input that the user is going to provide. You can say Celsius is, okay, and then we have C, 5 degrees C. Okay, if we run this now, okay, so we have the input of enter the temperature in Celsius. Let's say we have 32 in Celsius, so we have temperature report Celsius is 32 degrees C. You can as well write degree here. I say degree C. Okay, but as you can see now, you have both the input and the outputs immediately after each other. If you want to like add a new line between the input and the output, you can use the new line keyword, and that is \n. This syntax is used for creating a new line. If you run this again now, okay, so we provide a value. So you see now that we have a new line between the input and the output. You use the new line keyword, which is \n. This is going to create a new line within a string. All right, before we round up this lesson, when working with input, remember that input always gives us strings. So if you need the data in another data type, ensure to convert to the appropriate data type before you start using the data to avoid running into errors in your code. Also, you should give clear prompts to your users so that they know what actual data you need them to provide. See you in the next lesson.